Hello, my name is Cisco, and today in this session 160, we are going we are going to create a web application with Flask, like this one, using Flask form to create a login form, like this one here that you can see. That if we type the right email and the right password, we will be directed to this top secret page, and if we write down the entry, the wrong email address or and the wrong password, we will be redirected to this access denied page. So this is what we're gonna see today, and this with creating this web application will include as well template inherency with Ginger 2 that is integrated with Flask and Flask Bootstrap to render the static of the web application. So now what I'm gonna ask you is below this video you have the GitHub address. So click in that link and you will be redirected to GitHub directly where is our repository, where we're gonna find all the files for our starting code. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is click on code here on this green button and copy the HTTP address. Just copy and then um, close. I forgot to close the here. Um, well, then we open PyCharm. To download, to clone our repository. So we open PyCharm, double click, you know, well, I have difficulty to open PyCharm. Now that is opening our PyCharm, I'm gonna divide the screen so that we can follow with it to the screen. I'm gonna just go here. I'm gonna click cancel here because otherwise we'll open the last folder, last project I was doing. So just click cancel. And here is our PyCharm. So on this page, we are going to click on Get from VCS and get from version control key, which is the most common used, And here where you see URL, we are going to paste the HTTP address that we copied from GitHub here. And I'm going to change here the name because it's already my computer. So we're going to do clone. Clone means download the repository. Is the term used on GitHub on Git when we copy the files. So here I can show you. So here is charging the files, GitHub, PyCharm. Right, and here loading the files. View code here. You can see we're going to work with all those files today. So we have templates. Uh, here are our HTML. No, doesn't matter. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Oh well, it's taking time to load the files. So here is open. So we're gonna find out the opens on readme.md, but we are going to follow the readme that we have in GitHub, which is easier to read for us. So here we have all the files we are going to use. This folder templates, which are inside all the HTML files. We have the requirement.txt. So now it's PyCharm is asking us to create a virtual environment. The purpose of virtual environment is to manage settings and dependencies of a particular project regardless of other Python projects. Okay, so we click OK. Yes, it's creating the virtual environment. So here we have in our project directory the file we're going to use to create our web application. So we have already our templates HTML files. We have as well the requirements.txt. So those are all the dependencies and models we are going to use that will be installed through the process. Then we have our main.py model. So with here we're going to start our file. So as you can see here, to start we have Flask. We import the Flask class, and then we import as well the render template function. It's a Flask function is used to generate output from a template file based on the Ginger 2 engine. This function will only recognize the files that are in folders in a folder called template, like this in the case of, and this is the case here. We have template folder, and inside they are our static files, which is the HTML. Okay. Then here, app. This app is because all Flask application must create an application instance. The web server pass all the requests it receives from user to app object. Okay. Then we have the class Flask, and inside Flask class, we Flask constructor require as an argument the name of the main module or package, and for most application Python underscore double underscore name double underscore variable is the correct value. And then here we have our app route decorator. This decorator will map the URL to a specific function, in this case home, that will handle the logic of the URL request. So the function is binned to an URL path. Okay, and then here we have, once we are in this URL, we'll activate this function, and inside this function will return the render template function, and which take as a first argument a file name, in this case index.html. Okay. Then here we have this condition. This condition we create this if double underscore name double underscore equal double underscore main double underscore is used here to ensure that the development web server is started only when the script is executed directly. Once it starts up, it goes into a loop waiting for request. So once this one is activated, our app object with run module, which is from Flask, will start running our app. And this here, the debug equal true, is an option argument that use set true to activate the debugger and the reloader. Okay, so now what we can do to check if everything is okay. Well, it's still installing the package, very slow. So what we can do now to run for the first time our app, what we're gonna do is click in here on the tab main.py. We do right click, and here you can see run main. So we click in here, run main. That will one second, because it hasn't finished to install. Okay, so now all our settings and dependencies are installed in our project. We are going to run our web application. So what we're going to do is click on here, right click on main.py, and click in here run. This is for the first time what we needed. So here is activating, going through our server. And here is our HTTP address. for our local server. So we're gonna open a web app in here. As you can see, just before opening our web application on our browser, you can see here what I mean when Flask send a request, the server sends a request, the app, this is this main here is this main that you can see here in the if condition. And the debug mode is on because we set it true. So now we click either we double click here or we copy the address and paste in our browser. What we're gonna do is just double click and why is taking so long? So double click. Click, and here is our web application is opening. And here is our web application, our index page, HTML file. So now if we click here on go to login form, once we click, nothing happens. So now we are going to start with our challenge. So the first challenge is create a route / login that when the user clicks on login button will open the login HTML file. So first we are going to create an app decorator route with login address or address. So here the app route / login. So this will be our URL. We're gonna build our function. Now the second step is create a login function, as you see here. Create a login function to render the login HTML template. So now we are going to build our function def for function login. There we go. That will return the template, render template. Here it is. Login dot HTML. There we go. So we will create our URL. And now, if you can see here in login function, login HTML file, our template, and index, okay, we have our button, okay. Now once we click At the moment, nothing happened, but it's inside a anchor tag with have element. Okay, so inside here we are going to link our button in index HTML to our function, login function. So for that we use Ginger, and we need escape syntax and escape from HTML template, and for that we use double curly brackets like this, okay, and inside we use our URL function, which that function what it does is map, in this case, to the login function. Okay. URL4 is a method of redirecting accept a string, and the string is nothing but the path that the user is directed to. So in this case, our function URL underscore 4, and in our function we do our string and would be the name of our function. Okay, so now if we go to our browser, what is our web application, and we refresh in here, either you click refresh or you press F5. Okay, so now we can click in our button and we will be redirect to our login HTML file. Okay, so we are done with the first challenge, and now we're going to do the second challenge, which is create a form. To create a form with WTF form and Flask form, we are going to go to main.py, and from Flask underscore WTF, we are going to import Flask form. There we go. As well, for our form, we need field forms. So to create our form, we need fields in our form. For that, those fields, we are going to, from WT form, import our field form. So in this case, those fields will be associated to the type of field. So for email, in our form, we will need email and a password. So for that, we need a field text. Okay? In this case, we have the string field, and for our button, the type of field will be a submit file. Okay, so this is the first. Then when we're using Flask here, we create a class object called login form that inherits form from class Flask form, and define the files in the form with WT form class variables. So when we use in Flask WTF, each web form is represented by a class that inherit from class form. So what we do here, we create our class that we are going to call login form, okay, and that will inherit Flask form, okay. So now we are going to create our fields. So those fields in the form are defined as a class variable, and each class variable is assigned an object associated with the file type. In this case, email. This is our class variable, and we are going to associate it with a field type, which is a string file, string field, sorry, and inside we are going to create as argument, we're going to give it a label name. I will label a name, which is a string, so email. Then we need a password. This is our password field, which will be a string type in this case. And the label property will be password. Okay? And third, we need our button submit. With the file type submit file. And the label plug. Okay? So to be clear, this string field, that means is the kind of data that the class variable will process. Okay? So now we finish this step, and just to let you know, when we create a form, our form can be attacked, okay, by cross-site request forgery. So to avoid the Flask form, come with a protection. Okay, to activate the protection, there are several ways to create a protection, to initialize a protection for CSRF, but the easy ones that I have found is this one that you have here, which is app config and we type secret key, take as an argument secret key, and then we do a string what will be our token, which will be our token, become our token. So you can type whatever you want. Okay, so every time there is a request, send it to the server from the user. This token will be sent with the data to protect that information. Okay, so now we finish with that step. Now we need to go to our login form. We need to render inside our login function, our login form. So we are going to create an object of our login form that we are going to call form equal login form. We initialize, and then in our render template function, we can give as an argument uh, the variable name, okay, which we are going to call form, with the value of our form object, which is here. Okay, here it is. What is going on? Okay, all good. So now we are good, and now we are good to render our login form inside our login HTML file. So what we're gonna do is this form, we are gonna use it to render that will have all the values from our object, uh, from our login class form. So we are going to login HTML, and in here we are going to create our form. So for matter of time, I'm just gonna copy now here from our repository the code and paste inside uh, our login HTML file. Let's take off this. Okay, so here we have our tag form, HTML tag. Okay, and inside is our form. Same for. So here, as you can see, we are using Jinja. Jinja looks and behaves mostly like Python, especially the limits are used to distinguish Jinja syntax from the static data in the template, which is this one. And between the double curly brackets is an expression that will be the output, will be outputted to the template. So here in our form, we are calling our CSRF token to protect our form, which if you want to know a little bit more about it, you can just click in here, okay? Then we have here our form name, and we are calling our class variable email and the label. So this one for here is for the label, the name of our label, and here we are creating the input case, which has the size of the entry case. Okay, and the same for the password label, and here is our we are calling our submit button. Okay, and here we close our form, login form. So now we can see our form. We are going here to login and we refresh. We then click in F5 and here is our email and password, our login form. Okay, so now it, we have here our email form, but I want to talk now about HTTP methods. The interaction between users and server use the HTTP method request. Here we are going to use get and post. Okay, so get is by default in our decorator app root. For security reason, we do post request when the user provide information to the server. So in this case, what we are going to do is use get method to render the form to the user and post to retrieve the information that give us the user in our form. Okay, so we are going to have a to main.py in here in our app root login. So we give it as an argument a method equal, and we create a list, which is take as an argument get in uppercase as a string, and post. Okay, so here it is. And now we are going to use as well given a method to our form. That is, when the user submit our form knows that we'll send information to the server through a method post. Okay, so we're back now to our link in HTML file. This will be a little bit um, movement between files, which is normal. So here in our form, with the method post. Here it is. So now our form knows that when our data, the entry data is submit, will be sent um, to our server on the post method. So now that we have done that, if you can see in here in our login form is not completely functional because we still don't know if the text in email address if contain an ad, is really an email, and the user password is visible. If you can see, it doesn't say anything, and our password is visible, and either we don't have a minimum of characters or maximum characters in our password. Okay, and either we don't have any way to confirm that our two fields are filled when it's submitted. Okay, so for that we are going to challenge 5 to instruct our form with validators argument. So for that we can come back here to our main.py, and here in WTF forms, import string field and submit field, we can add another field that confirm and make sure that our input text is an email. We just call here email class, and we can do the same for our password. Like this, our entry case, our entry field will take the property of a password, which is to cover the entry password, the character of the entry. So we do here password. There we go. And that is okay. So now what we can do is change in here, well, class variable for substitute for email field and password field. There we go. So now we have that one, and then we can install as well to make sure that all the data is our fields are the data required is in our login form before being submitted. So what we can do is from WTF form dot validator import data required. That means the data is required before being submitted. So we can add in here comma validator, and we do as a list. It can take several arguments, so we're going to do just one that are required. We initialize. Same in here, validator list, data required, class, and we initialize our class. There we go. So now it's fine. We have made our change, and now if we run again, we refresh to actualize our change. Okay, now if, for example, we press our login button, there we go. Let's say that we need to fill out our field. If we fill our field here, it's telling us that we need a validate email. So we're going to write down a validate email. Then we log in again. Please fill out this field. So now if we type our password, here we go. We have they are invisible. They're covered. Or they are, how do you say, anonym? I don't know. No, they're not visible. Our password. Okay, now we click on login and everything is fine. So now, just to check if everything is working properly, what we're going to do is print the user email address in our console here in PyCharm. Okay. For that, we are going to establish a condition in the login function that if the data from the form validate submit printed is validate will print the user email in our console. So we are going to here first we're going to create the condition if, let's give it some space, if validate is form, okay, so here validate and submit, which is from Flask form class. So the validate and submit method is a method of the form that returns true when the form was submitted and the data has been accepted by all the field validators. So here we do validator. validate and submit. Okay. If that is the case, we're going to print form, the email from our login form, the data. This data function, the string field, is from validate submit. Okay, the data from that validated on submit. Okay, so now we come back here to our login form and we refresh. Now we type here, we click on login. Should be let me see, maybe we need to stop or up and restart it. Here we go. Here is our email. Okay. So now everything is fine, it's working. So now let's go to the next step. So now we are going to add to our form tag in here in login HTML. Okay. An instruction that the data form must be given action with an endpoint to redirect the data to the login function using Ginger2. So what we're going to do is action, and we are going to use again our URL function to give an endpoint. So URL underscore for login. Okay. And now we try it again. Our function, our login form, and here is we have a problem. This is why we activated the debugger true. So Ginger example exception template syntax error we're expecting chart. This we have here our method form. We haven't closed our string in URL form. So here it is. And then we do it again. And here it is. Okay. We do it again. We type again our password. And here it comes up our email address from our user. Okay. So now we are going to our next challenge. Now that we know, okay, so now what we are going to do is gonna create a predetermined email and password to redirect our user if we use the predetermined email and email address and password to our success HTML file, and if the user tap the wrong email or password, he will be redirect to denied HTML file. So we go back to main.py, our login function. We delete this print here, and we create our condition after if the form validated on submit. Okay, so if if form email data equal to admin at email@etest.com and and password and form password data equal our password that we are given. Okay, if we have that entry, we return the render template, the template success HTML else the user will else we return the deny access. Okay, perfect. So now again we restart our code, we change, so obviously because we started that one, and now if we do, let me test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Login. Here we go. We go to our we have access. Now we come back and we type the wrong password. We have denied access. Okay. So that's it in concern our form. Now, and still a little bit more another tip for the form. But what we're going to do now is we're gonna give it some styles to our index HTML and login HTML by using Bootstrap. So, which Bootstrap is a web GUI framework. When we Flash Bootstrap is initialized, a base template that includes all Bootstrap files are available in the app. This template takes the advantage of Ginger 2 template inheritance. So here we can have a look at template inheritance first before going to Bootstrap. So if we open here another tab, our template inheritance. Okay, this is how it looks. Okay, so the idea of creating template inheritance is to have a base template that inside each tag uh, I don't know. Okay. So template inherency is one of the most powerful aspects of Jinja template. The idea behind template inherency is somewhat okay. So template inherency is one of the most powerful aspects of Jinja 2 template. The idea behind template inherency is somewhat similar to object-oriented programming. We start by creating a base template which contains the HTML skeleton and markers. As you can see here, this is the skeleton, we create with markers. So inside, with those blocks, we denote the start and the end of the tag. Okay, so those block will take the property of those tags. Like in this case, we'll take the property of title. And here, content, block content will take the property of the body tag. So then the markers are created using the block statement. The child template use extend statement to inherit or extend the base template. And here you have an example. So this one is the base template, the base HTML that you can have here. Okay, you can see exactly the same as this one. And then here, so in index HTML and login HTML is already done the inherency that are child. So as you can see here in login HTML is extend base.html. So we do with this condition using Jinja with curly brackets and percentage. So to create a block, and here in block title, which take the type the property of title tag, and inside the uh, the what we are going to do given to the block. So as you can see here, this is another example. This is from base HTML. So we use um, template inherency with a base HTML file for use Flash Bootstrap. So now we can show you how to do with Flash Bootstrap. So we're back to main.py. We go here, let's give it some space. So here from Flask Bootstrap, we import Bootstrap class and we initialize. Here you have the instructions if you want to click. Otherwise we just initialize Bootstrap in our app. So in here, app Bootstrap, and inside the class we initialize our app. Okay. So like this, I take those properties and we extend Bootstrap to index and HTML and login HTML. As you can see here in the documentation, here is how we initialize, and then the template we do through extend bootstrap slash base HTML. So we go, let's open index. So here it is, extend, already extend from our base. So we'll just add bootstrap slash. Just a quick note, as you can see here inside our method in the tags, this jumbotron container, and here at our bottom btn promote. This is a bootstrap um, syntax. So like this, if you look in our in bootstrap, you have, oh, doesn't matter how we call that. Okay, so here is, and we do the same in our login HTML. So here on the top, base. So bootstrap slash base.html. Okay, so now we refresh our browser, or we can just go straight away to our index page like this, and here it is. Now it looks better, render with bootstrap. You can see, we go to Power Form, this same. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you a way that to render our form in our login HTML file, which is quickly, it's just one line and don't require all this hard code. Okay, it's very simple. What we are going to do, here you have WTF form support in Flask Bootstrap. We're clicking here. What we're going to do is open in a new tab. Here we go. So there is two ways to create our form. This is one, which is very similar, more or less similar to what we have created. There is this one, just one line code, okay, that runs our variable. So here, what we can do is very simple. Import the Bootstrap WTF HTML on the top of the login HTML. So what we can do is just copy this here and under our extension we paste here, okay, and then we uncomment our form. We just select our form and we do control slash, here we go, comment, and then we copy this line of code here and here it is. As you can see here, what it does is this template contains the macro to help you to output form quickly. Well, Flask WTF is not a dependency of Flask Bootstrap. However, it must be installed explicitly. The API Flask has changed quite a bit. So our form macro reference is this one. So here is our quick form from WTF quick form, and then here inside is our form. Okay, it's taken inside our form. So this form is the form that we have in our that we pass as an argument in here in our um, render template here. Okay. So now if we go to our login, we just refresh. and hit